think a great way to worship all the time is to be involving your heart and your mind and your ears with worship music. Music that reveres the Lord, music that lifts the Lord up. I think that is essential. Why? You can only go to church once a week. You can read your Bible, but you can't be reading the Bible while you're driving down the road. Shouldn't, at least. Don't do that. Listen to it. You can listen to it. There's audio Bibles.
Well, now you have the Bible app. You just hit play to read it to you, man. We got tools today.
When you're happy, you can listen to gospel music and worship the Lord. When you're sad, you can listen to music that can bring you back up. Or even if it doesn't bring you back up, there's relation there. There's heart there. There's hope there.
When we get into the science part of this, the way that
Yes.
God created the human brain, there's actually when you listen to music, there's actually 4 different parts of the brain music affects in different ways. And when I look into the science of, like, when I start to read about the human body, we've talked about this before. This is for me evidence of a creator. Like, just the way the human body reacts and relates when we hear music. It's a fascinating thing that what it does and how it can, like, stimulate. But also, like that, I've talked about this last week. I mean, you talk about when you're happy, when you're sad. I mean, how many times have you been pissed off driving down I-4 in road rage? And it's like, okay, I have an option here. I can continue in this mode, or I can just throw on some B-Lake real quick, and all of a sudden my mind just in a moment can shift, and it can just take me from that place of anger where I want to make foolish decisions, and all of a sudden I'm a rational human being again. And it can happen very, very quickly. It's very de-escalating the way that music works and how it changes your brain. But
as you're saying there with Brandon Lake, I read the lyrics on the Proverbs section of the show. Where we got it here. My head, heart, and hands are feeling heavy. That's when I lift them a little higher. My head, heart, and hands are feeling heavy. That's when I lift them a little higher. Sometimes my head, heart, and hands are feeling heavy.
Yeah.
I don't feel hard to lift my head, heart, and hands. What's your heart? Your heart is the inner you. It's the inner part of you that when things are really down, it's that part in you that feels heavy, that feels the pain. And sometimes it takes effort, but by putting forth that effort, and I think the music that you're listening to can teeter you over the edge too, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to, I love metal music, so this is my reference. It's not out of disdain, it's out of love. But if I'm listening to Killswitch Engage and I'm already upset about something, it's probably not going to bring me out of that thing.
It will not.
But if I do, and it's hard to do this, it's hard because I wanna be in that anger space. There's something about us that, like, when I'm mad, there's clearly a dopamine thing happening there when I'm upset that, like, gets your heart racing and you kind of want to be there for a minute and get that energy out. But it doesn't mean that that's productive, and it doesn't mean that it's good. And sometimes forcing yourself to listen to something else, I've found, this is my experience, is that when I then will turn myself over to and start to just speak out. And it's like they say, there's this saying, fake it till you make it. But there's a part of that I'm doing when I'm saying the words, and there's something, and it will, I'm going to use a word I try not to use anymore, because God will go, ha ha ha, tricked you in a way. I'm going to say every time that I do that, man, it works. Every time I say, I'm going to fight back against this, God, by listening to these words that were written about your glory, and it's going to free me from this. And I just turn it and get there, man. It gets me out.
That's part of the spiritual discipline of your life that that you've grown in, right? Because I'm like you. Like, there's a side of when you're angry. And all the Bible really gives us about anger is just says, in your anger, do not sin, right? That's when we give us this concept of anger. As far as that goes. You know, when we have, everybody's going to get pissed off, right? We're all going to have those moments of that. And so you always have, you have an option, right? That's the whole part of it, is like, I have an option here of where do I want to go with this? And most of the time I fail. Like most of the time I turn on the kill switch engage and I just stay in that anger and I try to justify and rationalize why I'm right.
God, don't you do that then too? You get stuck in this pattern, a loop pattern where you're just like, yeah, I was in that person. And you just continue in there. Then there's no victory at the end of that.
Nope.
I don't find it.
There's no win in it, because it's like I can be happy or I can be right.
And it bleeds into the rest of the
whole rest of my day.
It continues to bleed throughout whatever until I really do confront this anger.
And then that's the crazy part. As soon as you confront it and deal with it and move on from it, you go.
Well, I will admit that when I do then confront it, I sometimes will then feel guilty.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I absolutely feel guilty. I look at it and I'm like, I did it. Why did I do that again? Like,
and then I got to go back and like
apologize to everybody.
An apology tour. And like, oh, that's embarrassing. And then tell them
I'm working on it. I promise I'm working on it. And they're like, well, when are you working on it?
Jeez, you could have fooled me.